Mayhem in the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday as swarms of protesters supporting outgoing President Donald Trump stormed the building in an attempt to force Congress to undo Trump's election loss. Police drew guns and fired tear gas after pro-Trump protesters marched through the halls of Congress.
Everybody stay down! Get down!
House members were told by police to lie on the floor and grab gas masks under their seats. Police said a woman had died after being shot at the Capitol. The National Guard was also deployed to the scene. Some lawmakers live tweeted the dramatic lockdown, one calling it surreal, another, Dan Kildee of Michigan, saying, quote, "This is not a protest, this is an attack on America." The chaotic scenes unfolded after Trump addressed thousands of protesters and repeated false claims that the election was stolen from him due to widespread fraud.
We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved.
Trump also applied fresh pressure to Vice President Mike Pence, who had been presiding over the joint session of Congress and had to be escorted from the Senate, to unilaterally reject state electoral college votes.
And I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so. I hope so.
Trump later posted a video on Twitter in which he repeated his unsupported claim that the election was stolen from him, but called for peace and told his supporters to go home.
This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people.
Outside the Capitol, members of militia groups and far-right groups, some in body armor, mingled with the crowds. President-elect Joe Biden said it was an unprecedented assault on U.S. democracy and called for the siege to end.
It's not protest, it's insurrection.
And the head of a business group that represents 14,000 companies, including ExxonMobil, Pfizer, and Toyota, urged senior U.S. officials to consider invoking the 25th Amendment to remove Trump from office. Washington Mayor Muriel Bowers ordered a citywide curfew that began at 6 p.m.
The EU has approved Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. Approval by the European Medicines Agency marks the second regulatory green light for the shot. It's already been given the go-ahead by US authorities. In clinical trials, the vaccine proved around 95% effective at preventing illness. It was not found to cause any serious safety issues. Experts say the US firm's product should also be effective against the mutated variant of the virus found in the UK. Some officials in EU member states have criticised the EMA for being slow to grant approvals. Now the Moderna offering is the second vaccine it's okayed. Hundreds of thousands of Europeans have already received a rival inoculation produced by Pfizer and BioNTech. In the UK, regulators have also approved a version developed by AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford. On Wednesday, the Netherlands became one of the last places in the EU to start conducting vaccinations. Its first injection went to a 39-year-old care home nurse.
California in crisis, with coronavirus cases and deaths surging so high, 911 dispatchers can't keep up.
It's just call after call after call. The amount of 911 calls we receive and send our ambulances to is just out of control.
EMS workers then wait, sometimes up to 4 hours, until their patient is admitted. With hospital beds near capacity and ICU workers in short supply, many sick with COVID themselves, like at USC's Keck School of Medicine, where Karl Chodnovsky is an ER doctor.
This is the worst medical disaster that I've seen in over 30 years of practicing in emergency medicine.
On Monday, 2 stark memos were issued by the LA County Emergency Medical Services Agency. One instructed paramedics to conserve their use of oxygen. The other told them not to bring patients to hospitals who appeared to have little chance of survival.
The steepness of this line is frightening.
LA County Public Health Director Dr. Barbara Ferrer on Monday blamed holiday parties and travel for a spike so high in her area it is killing 1 person every 15 minutes, with LA County on its way to possibly more than 1,000 deaths a week.
We're likely to experience the worst conditions in January that we've faced the entire pandemic, and that's hard to imagine.
California is one of 4 states that have detected the new variant of the virus first found in the UK, the others being New York, Florida, and Colorado. Dr. Ferrer told LA residents to, quote, take every precaution possible, as 1 in 5 people in the county have tested positive.
Assume that this deadly, invisible virus is everywhere, looking for a willing host.
For those feeling isolated after months of strict measures, Ferrer reminded LA residents that it's, quote, better to be lonely than to be sick.
Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, has been denied bail by a London court on the grounds that he may be a flight risk, citing the 7 years he spent evading authorities by hiding in Ecuador's embassy there. The ruling came only days after he secured a victory in his effort to stop his extradition to the United States from Britain. At the time, a court ruled he should not be extradited because he'd be at risk of suicide, and after that victory he asked to be released on bail. But the US government is still pursuing him in the British legal system, and on Wednesday a judge at London's Westminster Magistrates Court said, quote, the outcome of this appeal is not yet known. This was the reaction of his partner Stella Morris outside the court.
This is a huge disappointment. Julian should not be in Belmarsh prison in the first place. I urge the Department of Justice to drop the charges and the President of the United States to pardon Julian.
Assange has spent the last 8 years either in prison or holed up in Ecuador's embassy.
Step away from the sign, sir.
He's accused of espionage against the United States and conspiracy to hack government computers. Some of WikiLeaks' most notable leaks include the Hillary Clinton campaign emails in 2016, military logs from the war in Afghanistan, diplomatic cables, and the gun camera video of American attack helicopters killing 12 people in Iraq in 2007, including 2 Reuters journalists. Supporters of Assange say he's a hero for exposing what they believe are abuses of power by the United States.
Free Julian Assange!
Opponents cast him as a dangerous man who's undermined the safety of the West.
At a summit for Gulf leaders on Tuesday, Saudi Arabia pushed a deal that would end a long-running dispute with Qatar. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister, Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, promised to end a boycott imposed on Doha in 2017, with the aim of strengthening an Arab alliance against Iran.
Today is a complete erasing of all disagreements and a full restoration of diplomatic ties. It will hopefully be a strong pillar for the future and stability of the region.
Member states of the Gulf Cooperation Council and Egypt severed ties with Qatar in 2017 over allegations that Doha supported Iranian-backed terrorism. Qatar denied the claims. In response to the Saudi foreign minister's statement at the Gulf Summit, Qatar's counterpart tweeted that the two countries have, quote, closed the page on disagreement. The negotiations followed mediation efforts by the United States and Kuwait, as both Saudi Arabia and Qatar share military ties to the U.S. and tension with Iran. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the United States welcomed the proposed deal, calling it a, quote, breakthrough to restore Gulf and Arab unity. Washington is keen on pushing for a united Gulf front to contain the actions of Iran. Although Saudi Arabia's statement has signaled hope for mending its relationship with Qatar, Al Saud shared no detailed confirmation of a deal. Diplomats and analysts say Saudi Arabia is also pushing for the deal to show U.S. President-elect Joe Biden, who will be inaugurated in 2 weeks, that Riyadh is open to dialogue. Biden has said he will take a harder line with the kingdom over its human rights record and the Yemen war.
North Korea's Kim Jong-un admitted that his 5-year economic plan failed to meet its goals on almost every sector, state media reported on Wednesday. Kim made his speech in a rare political gathering with the ruling Workers' Party. First, he praised the country's miraculous victory of bolstering its power, referring to a series of meetings with US President Donald Trump and successful intercontinental ballistic missile tests in 2017. Weapons capable of striking the US. But Kim then changed tone. and admitted that the economic strategy due last year, quote, tremendously fell short of its goals. The plan called for accelerating economic growth and expanding domestic sources of energy, including nuclear power, to boost supply of electricity. By openly admitting some of his failures, once a taboo in a country that praises an errorless godlike leader, Kim continues to try and build his profile as a man of the people. On the pandemic, Kim lauded party workers for ensuring, quote, stable situations against the coronavirus. Yet the country has not officially confirmed any coronavirus infections. No one was seen wearing a mask at the Congress and did not sit apart. The talks are being closely watched by South Korea as it hopes to improve inter-Korean relations and have drawn international attention as Kim is expected to unveil a new 5-year plan.
$146,000 a pop. JP Morgan went out on a limb Tuesday predicting the price of Bitcoin will soar. The digital currency is in the midst of a powerful upswing, surging over the past 6 months to a record peak just shy of $35,000 as investors look for an alternative to a weaker dollar and see Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. Now, JP Morgan says the price could go much, much higher, as this could finally be the dawn of, quote, digital gold, a new age of stability and acceptability for the world's biggest cryptocurrency. The investment bank said Bitcoin could rival actual gold and its traditional safe haven status. And that perception is likely to accelerate with a generational shift in investors. Bitcoin has now been around long enough for millennials to be more acquainted with it and not see it as an unproven, risky new asset. JP Morgan reasons that millennials will increasingly turn to so-called digital gold over the traditional hard stuff. But buyers, beware. Ever since its inception, Bitcoin prices have swung violently, resulting in several costly head fakes for novice investors.